No one could look away from her as she made her debut on the Storage Wars set. She was enchanted. Her charisma and self-assurance brought joy to her audience as they cheered for her triumphs and found humor in her clever comebacks. It seemed like she was about to unveil something extraordinary with every locker she unlocked. She was destined to shine eternally, according to her devotees. Well-known figure in the realm of treasure-seeking. The public had no idea that her story would take an unexpected turn behind the scenes, leading to a story that never made headlines. The intriguing blend of drama, thrills, and the excitement of treasure hunting in Storage Wars is what makes it one of those reality series that hooks viewers from the very beginning. The show's premise was straightforward, yet absolutely wonderful. Everything from rare antiquities to random household items may be found within the abandoned storage lockers that were auctioned off to the highest bidder. Tom Beers was not just the show's narrator and executive producer, but also its creator and architect. Every episode would start with an explanation of how it worked, and it would conclude with a rundown of the winners and losers among the buyers. Interestingly, the show skipped over the backstories of the original locker owners. Beers continued by saying that he didn't want to make money off of other people's misery and that those stories usually had a lot of sadness and anguish. It was a smashing success from the very first season, which officially launched on December 1st, 2010 on A&E in the US. 19 episodes made up the first season, the vast majority of which occurred in Southern California's self-storage units. The charismatic ensemble was well-liked by all. The thrill of competing in auctions and the tension of wondering what priceless artifacts might be stashed away in a forgotten locker. The success of Storage Wars was confirmed by the ratings. The premiere episode of the second season drew an astounding 5.1 million viewers, much more than A&E had ever documented up until that moment. Storage Wars was so successful that A&E quickly renewed it for several seasons. Round 2, which debuted on June 5, 2012, was ordered a massive 26 episodes. The original run, however, was only 20 episodes. The next 6 episodes were kept in the dark until the second half of Season 3 to air, the premiere of which took place on December 4, 2012. Viewers kept tuning in year after year to see the purchasers take massive risks in pursuit of ever-increasing payouts, so the show kept going. It appeared for a while that the conclusion of Season 12 on January 30, 2019 would have been the final chapter in the storage warfare. Fans were wondering if the adventure was finally coming to an end since there was no renewal word. However, A&E shocked us in March 2021 with the announcement of Season 13, and the premiere was on April 20th. We were still in the midst of Storage Wars. Even after more than a decade on TV, Storage Wars was going strong with the premiere of Season 14 in November 2021. Viewers were ecstatic when fan favorite Barry Weiss, who had left the show in Season 4 in 2013, returned to the buyers group. The 15th season ended on August 15, 2023, after 24 episodes, and the network revealed that there would be many more seasons to come. Season 16 will premiere on June 7, 2025, with an hour-long episode length instead of the usual half-hour. On top of that, Dave Hester, a familiar buyer who had been absent since Season 12, would be making a triumphant return. The flagship show was so successful that it inspired numerous spin-offs in different territories and media types. From 2011 through 2014, there was Storage Wars, Texas, and from 2013 to 2014, there was Storage Wars, New York. There was a Canadian version as well, that ran from 2013 to 2015. Storage Wars, Northern Treasures on A&E was rebranded to Storage Wars in the end, and even the most beloved cast members got their own spin-offs. Barry had Buried Treasure in 2014, while Brandi and Jared had their family-focused series, Brandi and Jared, Married to the Job, the same year. Storage Wars France debuted on Share Surprises on Channel 6, Satire, and the brand even expanded to Miami in 2015. Storage Wars became into more than just a locker shopping show every year. The show became a cultural sensation thanks to the unique, courageous, and unforgettable personalities it introduced to viewers and the constant suspense that came with opening each new mystery box. The tale of Storage Wars is far from over, even after all these time. It's time to look closer at the cast members whose lives took a tragic turn when the cameras stopped rolling. Harris County, Texas is the site of Brandi Passante's birth on May 16, 1980. These days, though, she's more known as the witty, honest bargain shopper that fans grew to admire. Held at Storage Wars, she and Jared Schultz became one of the most interesting couples on the show from the very beginning. As a fierce negotiator who was not afraid to go head-to-head with rivals, she was also portrayed as someone the audience could relate to, thanks to her charming humility. They were upfront about their connection from the start. The two had been in a committed relationship for a long time prior to their appearance on Storage Wars. Being co-workers at the same carpet cleaning company, they crossed paths. Their on-camera interactions had a charming air of authenticity that fans adored because of their real friendship, spiced with the occasional friendly quarrel. It wasn't always fun, though, while the cameras were rolling. After over 20 years of dating, Brandi and Jared secretly ended their relationship in 2018. The breakup was painful even though they were never married. They had 2 kids together, and Brandi ended up with full custody. While they've been raising their teens, she's been open and honest. With her job in mind, she made mention of them being 17 and 15 in 2020. At times, she would come clean about the difficulties of being an only parent, including the fact that she had always been the intimidating figure in the background. Now she had her children at her side at all times. Even her own path is far from over. Brandi has also been forthright about her struggles with mental illness and how she is working through them. She came clean about her struggle with Hashimoto's disease in April 2022. The autoimmune thyroid disorder causes feelings of exhaustion, increased appetite, and itchy throats. On a more intimate and impactful note, Brandi's public comments and Instagram posts have demonstrated her fortitude and perseverance. A bird, representing her progress, was part of her tattoo reading in August 2022. She used hashtags like #domestic violence awareness and #domestic violation survivor to send a strong message of overcoming hardship. Brandi has always been there for her followers, no matter what. After season 12, she returned to Storage Wars for seasons 13 and 15, continuing her appearances even though Jared was still missing. She also dabbled in podcasting, joining Happening Now with Hammer in the middle of 2021, a show that was a perfect fit for her candor and sharp humor. A tale of truth, change, and perseverance. That is Brandi Passante's life. While we may have cheered for her as the tough negotiator on TV, she is, in fact, a survivor who has defined her journey unmistakably by sacrificing her children, health, and tranquility. Peyton Mary Padian, better known as the Junkster or Scrapyard Queen, came into this world in Dallas, Texas, on August 24, 1980. Prior to finding a job in NYC, she attended the University of Texas to study photojournalism, serving as the magazine's assistant editor. Thanks to her training in design, she had an uncanny knack for turning ordinary objects into fashionable masterpieces. A later case of homesickness brought her back to Texas, where she channeled her artistic energies into opening a physical antique shop named Mary's Finds. There, destiny intervened. Mopri Goff, a producer, saw her potential and offered to accompany her to storage auctions. Her subsequent Season 2 debut on Storage Wars Texas solidified her moniker as the Junkster due to her extraordinary knack for repurposing everyday items into valuable artifacts. She was beloved by her fans for her endearing personality, imaginative spirit, and hint of resiliency. She wasn't just there, she was an influence. A slot on the main series of Storage Wars was extended to her by the producers. She had become a full-time buyer by the 6th season, making history as the first franchise star to transition from the Texas spin-off to the flagship series. She was already well-liked by viewers, but her amiability and friendship with fellow buyer Ivy Calvin, whom she affectionately referred to as her BFF, only increased her star power. Mary made a solitary cameo appearance in the inaugural episode of Season 13, despite the fact that Season 12 ended just before the epidemic, taking part in a farewell California auction session with Brandi Passante just before she departed the show. So, where is she currently spending her time? Mary stayed active on the internet, but cut down on her TV appearances. Even though she now runs Mary's Finds mostly online, she is still selling vintage goods, repurposed home furnishings, and even handmade plushies via her website and various social media platforms. There is still a sizable Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok following for her. More than 360,000 people follow her on Instagram because of her thrifting adventures, do-it-yourself tutorials, and honest moments. She even answers to crazy fan letters. Mary keeps her charitable spirit alive outside of business. Ubuntu Life is a Kenyan NGO that she has joined up with to sell bracelets made by Maasai women that cater to individuals with unique medical requirements. The attire of Emily Ward. The narrative of Emily Wares is one of drive, perseverance, and breaking through obstacles in a field where women are underrepresented. She was born in 1990 in Solon, a quiet Iowa town of less than 3,000 people. Her father, Brent Wares, has been an auctioneer for almost 35 years, so she was exposed to the industry from an early age. As a child, Emily wasn't merely observing. At the very forefront, she was lending a hand. Not only that, but she also loaded items, cleaned up garbage, and ran sheets. She felt empowered to step into the industry on her own after this experience. Emily took a bold step when she enrolled in the Worldwide College of Auctioneering when she was 17 years old. Additionally, she became known for her exceptional skills in bilingual auctioneering, which she earned at that institution. Her talent soon started to attract people's attention. She had a successful 2008, finishing second in the International Junior Auctioneer Championship. 2009 was her breakout year. Among the few female auctioneers to ever win the Iowa Auctioneers Contest, Emily joined the ranks of the youngest winners. Those achievements were just the beginning of a long and fruitful career. Earlier that year, 2010, she was named Wyoming's favorite auctioneer. Subsequently became the first female to win the Colorado Auctioneers Contest title in 2012, while also becoming the youngest person to do it. Another major title, Wyoming State Champion Auctioneer, has already been added to her collection by 2014. Being named International Auctioneer Champion in 2018 was her proudest achievement. She went on to earn honorary certifications from groups like the Certified Auctioneers Institute, CAI, the Auction Technology Specialist, ATS, and the Benefit Auctioneer Specialist, BAS. Emily's abilities were on display above ground in the auction barns as well. Money Barn, a reality show on Animal Planet about auctioneers, was her first broadcast appearance in 2012. A bigger door opened after that little taste of television. By the 10th season of Storage Wars, Emily had established herself as a regular fixture in the auction house. Her fiery demeanor and unwavering determination in the face of adversity in a male-dominated field were instantly noticeable to the audience. The young woman featured on the show wasn't her. Her wit, speed, and professionalism were on par with those of her more seasoned co-workers. After the cameras stopped rolling, life continued to be just as hectic. After following in her family's footsteps, Emily moved to Idaho and is now the operator of WR's Auctioneering West. She was also tech-savvy, holding auctions in many states on the internet. She uses her financial acumen in addition to her charitable activities as a contract auctioneer for various types of fundraising events. In her own life, Emily also discovered happiness at home. Emily wed Cody Krull, her longtime lover, in May 2017. On August 8, 2019, 2 years after they got married, the couple had a daughter, Millie Rose. Emily now splits her time between her creative side and her hectic job life. In addition to selling her handcrafted leather goods online, she also plays an instrument. What happens when passion meets persistence is exemplified by Emily's journey, which began in a small town in Iowa and ended with national television and international fame. My name is Barry Weiss. Barry Weiss, who plays the role of the collector on Storage Wars, came into this world in Los Angeles on February 11, 1951. Barry and his brother built their fortune in the family-owned import-export produce firm, Northern, before he became famous on reality TV. He retired around 2007 after 25 years in the industry, giving him the leisure and freedom to indulge his cherished hobby of antiques and collectibles. Because of his eccentric sense of style, quirky sense of humor, and genuine commitment to finding meaningful artifacts, regardless of their monetary value, Barry quickly became a fan favorite on Storage Wars. He made an eye-catching entrance at auctions, projected an air of laid-back charm that succeeded in overcoming the fierce bidding wars, and even had unusual automobiles and colorful apparel. Making a profit by reselling things wasn't his way. He was a real collector who famously said he would keep anything if he thought it was cool and enjoyed it. Barry's tenure on Storage Wars ended in Season 4, 2013, when he voluntarily left the show. I had an absolute blast, as he put it. It was fun, but I had enough and kind of wanted to leave while it was still popular. He quickly received his own spin-off, Buried Treasure, in 2014. The show traveled with him around the US, searching for one-of-a-kind antiques and oddities, but it only lasted 8 episodes. In 2015, he came back once more in Storage Wars. Barry strikes back, offering commentary on previous episodes, alongside Kenny Crossley. This also wrapped up swiftly, only 10 episodes long. Behind the scenes, Barry has not been without his own issues. In April 2019, he was severely injured in a motorbike accident when a car cut him off unexpectedly. He had injuries to his chest and legs, including fractures and internal injuries, and spent around 2 months in hospital, some of it in intensive care, having operations and rehabilitating. Upon recovering, he became a brand ambassador for Northern California's Sherwood Valley Casino, providing voiceovers and commercials for the casino. In a sweet return, Barry returned to Storage Wars in Season 14, which debuted in November 2021 and again in Season 15, 2023, to the delight of fans everywhere. But he was noticeably missing in Season 16, 2025, with no news so far as to whether he might yet return. All in all, Barry Weiss remains one of Storage Wars' most unforgettable personalities, part antique aficionado, part eccentric collector, and always authentic and larger than life. Let me know if you'd like to expand on any part of Barry's journey, maybe his car collection, his collectibles, or his early days in the produce business. Jared Schultz. Jared Schultz's life was one of ups and downs and a lot of twists in between. Before he was a reality TV personality, his life was not exactly smooth sailing. Back in the late 1990s, he got into serious trouble with the law. In January 1997, he was arrested for possession of methamphetamine and was sentenced for 60 days. But only a few months later, still on probation, he was arrested again, this time for transporting narcotics and a DUI. That second arrest landed him in prison for 16 months. For Jared, those months in prison were a wake-up call. When he was released, he knew he needed to start over. Seeking to start his life anew, Jared worked as a sales manager at a carpet cleaning business in Tustin, California. That's when destiny intervened because in 1999, he crossed paths with Brandi Passante. The two immediately hit it off, both as life partners and later business partners. They opened a thrift shop called Now and Then, in which they resold things they acquired through storage auctions. Their rough around the edges lifestyle and appeal of their store later got Storage Wars producers' attention. Jared and Brandi were on television in 2010, presented as the Young Guns, the feisty couple going after fat scores. On camera, their rapport was impossible to ignore. Viewers enjoyed seeing them squabble, joke, and even engage in the occasional battle over bidding tactics. They were down to earth, a combination of toughness, sense of humor, and drive. Most viewers thought that they were married, but in fact, Jared and Brandi were never actually wed. They were longtime companions and self-proclaimed parents of 2 children, Peyton and Cameron. But like many partnerships, theirs wasn't built to last forever. By the end of Storage Wars Season 12 in 2018, their relationship had quietly unraveled. Fans didn't know right away, but by the time Season 13 premiered in 2021, Brandi confirmed the split during filming. "I'm not with Jared anymore," she said. Jared, no wordsmith, chimed in, "Just because me and Brandi aren't together anymore doesn't mean we can't go to an auction, but separately." On TV, the friction was palpable. Their light-hearted jabs grew more aggressive, with Brandi even referring to him as an idiot at auctions when she disagreed with his bids. Sadly, Jared's life outside the breakup only grew more complicated. He was indicted in July 2019 with resisting an officer following a scuffle in Lake Forest, California. He then faced another concerning incident in April 2021 when he was charged with misdemeanor domestic battery against Brandi following a fight at a bar. He was said to have pushed her during the brawl, although he denied doing so. Subsequently, on the same year, in October 2021, Jared was in more trouble, this time indicted with a DUI after he drove a car with a blood alcohol level above the legal limit of 0.08%. By June of 2023, most of these cases were unresolved combined with trials being pending. For his fans, who used to regard him as part of Storage Wars' most thrilling duo, it was a stark reminder of how quickly circumstances change in life. Jared's trajectory indicates both his strength and the challenges that continue to define his narrative. The Harris brothers, when Matt and Mark Harris, the identical twins better known as the Kings of Swag, initially arrived on Storage Wars, they turned heads. With their flashy clothes, coordinated style, and Tinseltown swagger, they seem to have just stepped off a red carpet into the realm of storage lockers. The Los Angeles-based brothers were already established, having created a business around celebrity gift and VIP lounge territory, so to bring that same glamour to the auctions just felt like the natural thing to do. The Harris brothers entered Storage Wars during Season 3, which was around 2013. They initially appeared as appraisers for Barry Weiss when he discovered a rare Star Wars jacket. Their charisma and larger-than-life profiles immediately caught attention, and before long, they were upgraded to seasoned buyers in Seasons 3 and 4. One of their highlights was when they purchased a locker for only $45 and found an antique olive press within. They sold it for some $855 profit, a major victory and a demonstration that they could support their flair with substance. The fans enjoyed them for being unlike the typical storage hunters. While most of the buyers sounded tough, competitive, and at times ruthless, the Harris brothers injected humor, playfulness, and a lot of personality. They spent much time bickering with one another, telling jokes, and even getting confused at auctions, such as when they unwittingly bid against one another. Rather than being viewed as gaffes, these instances made them more endearing and enjoyable to view. Off camera, the Harris brothers were producing WOW creations, their luxury gift company and gifting and marketing firm. They promoted A-list worthy events such as the Oscars, Grammys, and Golden Globes, placing high-end gift bags in the hands of celebrities. Benefiting from the exposure on television, they broadened their brand and even started an online series titled The Harris Brothers World of Wow, where they ventured out into offbeat places and lesser-known spots throughout Los Angeles. Unlike a few of their other cast members, Matt and Mark escaped huge scandals or lawsuits. They were relatively drama-free, although some fans complained that their flashy outfits didn't quite match the dusty, rough, and tumble environment of storage auctions. But honestly, it was part of their appeal. They were different because they weren't afraid to be themselves. Ultimately, the Harris brothers added a dash of glamour and humor to Storage Wars. Love their swagger or chuckle at their antics. They made auctions entertaining to behold. Mark Balelo was born on January 31st, 1973, in Madeira, Portugal. He grew up in Brazil for a portion of his childhood before immigrating to the United States to pursue his education and establish a career. Throughout the years, he had his turn at various businesses. He had an auto sales business, operated a gaming store known as the Game Exchange, and later established his own auction company using the name Balelo Incorporated. His firm dealt in closeouts, wholesale distribution, and asset liquidations, and thus he was a well-known figure when it came to auctions. When Balelo got on Storage Wars, fans immediately took notice of him. He was on the show from seasons 2 to 4, and he wasn't a guy you could easily overlook. Dressed to the nines with his flashy attire, big personality, and tendency to bring rolls of cash, if not $50,000 or more, to the auctions, he immediately made himself noticed. Other auction bidders referred to him as Rico Suave, due to his manner and confidence. One of his most memorable moments on the show was when he found an old Nintendo console in a locker. He was stoked that it might be worth thousands, up to $13,000. When he found out afterward that it only cost $10, he laughed at himself and dealt with it in good humor. That made many fans appreciate him. Despite all the bluster, he didn't take himself seriously. Balelo's story, however, had a sad turn of events. In February 2013, he was arrested at his Simi Valley company on suspicion of being under the influence and possession of drugs. It had been a tough time for him, and 2 days later, there was tragedy. On February 11, 2013, he was discovered dead in his garage, seated in his car with the engine still running. His death was subsequently confirmed to be a suicide by the Ventura County Medical Examiner's Office from carbon monoxide poisoning. Stories from sources such as Reuters and Business Insider indicated that the stress of his recent arrest might have gotten to him and made him feel hopeless to the point of resorting to suicide. The news stunned both viewers and the Storage Wars fan base. He issued a statement which read, "It was a reminder that even someone who appeared so self-assured and vibrant on television could have been struggling deeply behind the scenes." Looking back at the rise and fall of the Storage Wars stars, it's clear the show was more than just about lockers filled with dusty boxes and hidden treasures. It was a reflection of the people who took part in it, their dreams, flaws, risks, and resilience. Every bidder who stepped into those auctions carried their own story, and through the show, those stories became part of pop culture. What made Storage Wars so special wasn't only the excitement of finding valuables in forgotten storage units. It was the personalities that turned simple bidding wars into must-watch drama. Fans weren't just tuning in to see what was inside a locker. They wanted to see how Brandi would outsmart Jared, how Barry would roll in with another quirky car, or how Padian's creativity would turn junk into something worth keeping. These characters made the show feel alive, giving it heart beyond the numbers. But with reality, television comes a complicated truth. Fame doesn't guarantee happiness, and success doesn't erase personal struggles. Some cast members went on to build stable lives and new businesses, while others found themselves caught up in controversies, breakups, or even tragedy. The show highlighted the thrill of chance, how a simple $50 bid could change a day. But off-camera, life didn't always deal such lucky hands. What's most striking is how much the audience became invested in these lives. Viewers cheered for victories, laughed at slip-ups, and in some cases, mourned losses as if they were family. That emotional connection is rare in television and shows just how powerful these stories became. In the end, Storage Wars will be remembered not only as a hit reality series, but as a cultural snapshot of ambition, unpredictability, and humanity, where fortunes could change in a single bid, and where the real treasures were often the people themselves. Thanks for sticking with us through this story. If you enjoyed learning about the highs and lows behind Storage Wars and its unforgettable cast, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us out. And if you want more deep explorations into the untold stories of your favorite stars, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update.